Hi, I'm A.Nu.Beginning Miller. My husband was an eye doctor. His name was Stuart Miller, and he was diagnosed at 60, although I think he probably had the disease prior, and he expired at 67 years old. We were going for some counseling, marriage counseling actually. It was because he stood me up and he forgot things, and I thought he was just disregarding me and not paying attention. And the counselor asked my late husband to sit outside a minute to talk to me alone. And she said, when was he tested last? And this was like 59, 60 years of age. I said, tested for what? She says, he has a real memory deficiency. I said, he's always had a memory deficiency. She says, he needs to be tested. And I kind of blew her off. And she really was quite persistent. So I set up a neuropsych exam, which was really difficult. It's beyond an IQ type of a test. And it ended up taking 2 days. It's usually a 4 to 6 hour test. He felt stupid. The test pushes you till you can't answer correctly. That's the intention of the test. But for somebody that already knows there's some deficiency, they feel bad about themselves. And he was angry as a hat. It was pretty sufficient at being clear that it was Alzheimer's. To the best of their ability, without blood work and PET scans, we knew pretty for sure that it was. To realize you're going to become the caregiver of an adult senior who was your partner one day and your responsibility the next is indescribable, absolutely indescribable. But when you get married, you take on a responsibility, and that was my responsibility. I think the feelings over the 4 to 5 year tough time at the end of his life was a yo-yo. One day it was horrible and he didn't recognize the grandchildren's pictures or anybody. And then the next minute he's pleasant and going through a process where he's happy to see a familiar face. He might not know why I'm familiar, but I was familiar. It's an emotional roller coaster at minimum. And it's a surprise most of the time. One never knows what it was going to feel like each day. When I think about it, I just can't believe what our family went through. Even though it is very emotional, if you don't get your ducks in a row way before you need them, you're always in panic mode. So lining up drivers, lining up your doctors, people who volunteer to do things to help. If you don't build a village of people that can help you, be it paid for or not paid for, you cannot do it alone. Cannot. Later on, the hardest and worst days were when he was losing all of his faculties, when he'd have to be strapped into a seat so he didn't slide off and fall on the floor, when he didn't recognize anybody anymore, when he didn't eat. I was fortunate to have long-term care insurance on both of us, so I was able to afford great care for my husband, so I was lucky in that regard. And then his last property was phenomenally wonderful. It was a small house, a group home type environment, specific to memory care patients. And that's where he lived his last 4 or 5 months. And that was the story of Stuart.